Welcome to the vagus nerve masterclass, aka the compassion nerve. Now, during my research, I didn't make this up. I didn't go, because compassion, I'm going to put that towards what we've been teaching. No, I only found out last week that literally the vagus nerve, which I'm going to teach you about what that is, about our nervous system, is actually titled a nickname called the compassion nerve. So everything we're practicing about self-compassion and us being open and feeling and being very present is about this, okay? So what we're going to be doing is learning to regulate a little bit more. I'm going to explain to you what regulation means towards the nervous system, because when we get this, we can then apply the other things to know that these other things, these modalities, are affecting our nervous system, our vagus nerve, in a positive manner. And when we can learn to regulate our nervous system, our health is regulated and we heal and we become much better, all right? On nearly every aspect of, call it a symptomatic disease, okay? So again, let's train our focus. Let's put our phones on silent. You're going to be with me for an hour-ish, okay? If you need to take a break, take a break. No worries. Put your video on, you can block it and just go for a walk, get a drink. I've got a cup of tea. All right. Do what you need to feel calm. If you want a notebook and a pen, please do so. But we're about to drop in. So if you need to go grab that, please do so. So what we're going to cover is, not only am I going to want to teach you some basics around the vagus nerve, but also we're going to have some interactive exercises. So this is why I asked, make sure you're in a safe place, because we're going to practice some of these together. We're going to learn on how to continue on the journey of how we're going to continue honoring our body and our nervous system. And again, if anything comes up and it's too much, just tap out, have a break, get up, move around, move your body, move your nervous system, take some deep breaths, because we're not here to fully trigger ourselves either. Okay. And then a Q&A at the end. All right. So vagus, what is the vagus nerve? What are we talking about here, Mitchell? Well, the anatomy of this is basically what I want you to focus on in these pictures are these yellow nerves, okay? Now, the vagus nerve, also kind of known as the gut-brain axis, okay, has a huge part and play towards our autonomic nervous system, or our central nervous system. Okay, what we can see here is, let's say this is part of the brain. So it actually connected to the stem of the brain up here and goes down, as you can see, connected to our larynx, our voice, our vocal cords, our throat, which then at the same time, also our thyroid and our parathyroid, goes all the way down again. You can see going down here, it's connected towards the heart as well. And I think there was a post I put in early in our group about the heart, and it's called the thing called the third brain, because it's got a huge amount of neurons within it, that when the gut-heart brain axes are connected. So all this, the nervous system connects everything. That's what we're really talking about. And that connection is what helps things to operate either in a very good state or a lowered state, a hyperarousal state or a hypoarousal state. That's why we have terms like hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism. That's what causes this, is, are we in a hypo or a hyper state? And that's what this vagus nerve can actually regulate. So the other cool thing about this is all right, the other thing is regulated towards, as you can see on the right picture here, it's actually very much intertwined within our diaphragm and our breathing and our respiratory system. We can see just here in this middle section, these white fibers. That's the bottom of the diaphragm, actually a connection to, you can see this going down here, all the way down. That's the heart, all these yellow things going down here into the digestive zone. Okay, so again, the vagus nerve is directly related and connected to our large and small intestine and parts of our colon. So it's everything here. You've heard that the gut is the second brain because we have so many nerves around it, particularly the vagus nerve. All right. So I just wanted to show you, these are just some simple pictures, but to go, oh, wow, it's very much connected. And it's also connected towards the spine. So we can see here, just down here, this is part of the spine here going down that's going to connect. So huge connection towards everything. And when we learn about this and actually know how to work with it, your nervous system will change, your life will change. All right, heal your nervous system, heal your life. Okay, this is where we are. So what is it and why is it important? Basically, as you can see here, it's the epicenter of our mind-body connection. All right, so to actually go, look, I'm emotionally not feeling well mentally. Well, that's probably because something's happening in the vagus nerve that is hyper or hypo aroused within the body. They're both connected. We can't do one or the other. It's so important to work with the duality of the both. Okay. It controls our autonomic nervous system, as I mentioned before. Again, so what is the autonomic nervous system? It's the thing that just pumps our heart all the time. Things that we don't need to control, things that just normally happen. Breathing when we're asleep. That's what this autonomic nervous system is. A healthy nervous system is not always calm. I really want that to land for here. I really made sure I put that in there. It's flexible and resilient. So the vagus nerve is the key to our emotional health. Now, when we think, oh, I need to support my healing, I need to be calm all the time, I need to be resting all the time. It's actually no. We actually need a good, healthy balance of being flexible and resilient towards good stresses and also being calm when the stresses aren't there, turning that off. So when we talk about, which we're going to talk about checking in with one another today, 10 being like hyper aroused, 1 being hypo. So again, sympathetic or dorsal. What we want to do to have a very healthy nervous system is we want to be about 5. We want to be in the middle with our stresses. We want good stress, but if we had no stress, that's also very toxic for the body. We have too much stress, that's very toxic for the body. So I just want to let that land. It's not about always being calm. It's the communicator between the heart and the brain, as I mentioned before, and the gut and the brain. So that's why we have 3 brains. Brain, heart, and gut are 3 brains because there's so many neurons and nerves around it. It impacts on digestion and is involved in your intuition. So a lot of people have gut issues and therefore maybe have their junctions within their gut starting to separate, causing a leaky gut, which causes autoimmune issues. A big part of that is due to our vagus nerve being either too high or too low. So again, when we want to heal the gut, we've got to make sure that we're very much focusing on the vagus nerve as well. Okay. When working properly, it acts as an anti-inflammatory. So it's got an anti-inflammatory role within the body. People's like, you don't need to, if you learn this, again, we're feeling tight, we're feeling tension, we're feeling inflammation everywhere. Vagus nerve's off, out of balance. It will produce anti-inflammatories because it's going to communicate the right thing to do, right? So again, big one, I'm just looking at Sammy on this one because I feel her on that. It's going to reduce pain, okay? Improve gut health and immune functions, all right? If we all had that, we'll be having a very healthy life, which we're going to get to, all right? So a big part of this, when I learned this, my whole life changed. When I learned this, my whole way of working with people completely changed and being of service because I was like, that's the reason, all right? So this is a bottom-up processing. So you can see here in the diagram on the left, we've got afferent and efferent connections or nerves. Now, as I've written here, 80 to 90% of fibers, nerve fibers, are afferent, carrying bottom-up information from the body to the brain. These are sensory fibers. These are things that the skin can feel and all that type of stuff within the body, all that communication, 80 to 90% of our whole nervous system is in the body, communicating that back to the brain of what's going out in the world and what we're feeling physically. All right, so what does that leave us with? It leaves us with 10 to 20% of the efferent nerves within the neuron connections within the brain going back down the vagus nerve to then respond to that sensory response we're having in the physical world. So when we're feeling off, when we're having, feeling depressed, we're feeling anxious, we're feeling tight, we're feeling whatever, we're having a trigger, that trigger, the reason that we feel like off within the mind is because 80% is actually in the body. That's communicated so quickly and it's like, okay, we're in the amygdala part of the brain, which I'm going to go into. So again, we may have heard this expression called somatic experiences, meaning to heal the mental part of ourselves, we need to have a physical experience, a safe physical experience, to make sure the brain becomes safe and actually can respond properly. It's called a somatic experience. Chiropractic care is a somatic experience. Breathing, grounding, sunshine, good sleep, a good hug from someone, or a massage is all these things, because these are sensories to a somatic experience for healing or regulating the vagus nerve. All right. So again, we can feel inflammation, we can feel hunger because the gut in there, satiation, energy metabolism, all these experiences, even things that we're not even aware of because the autonomic nervous system's doing it, is going to send those signals to the brain. Okay. And then the efferent, okay, things that, that just go as well. I would say more so mentally is probably the big one there. So again, I just thought you show these lines here is the vagus nerve coming all the way down into the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine, the colon as well, all connecting. All right. Really, really, really important. All right. So this here is called the limbic part of the brain. Okay. So we've got the thalamus, the amygdala, all these other really, really, really important parts. But the big one we're going to focus on today is the amygdala. All right. The other thing here is I'm going to talk through a couple of these. Is heart rate variability, okay, and our breathing and our posture, just to help regulate our vagus nerve. Who's following me so far? Yeah, awesome. So we can all agree it's a pretty important part of the body. But what we want to do right now is just go baseline. I want to just check in. All right. And I'm just going to explain this little exercise we're going to do before we even go there to start regulating our vagus nerve right now. So where is our posture at? What we're going to do is, how does our body and mind feel right now? So what I'd like you to do is either on a piece of paper or just mentally, if you can check in with yourself, from a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being, really slow thoughts, barely put a thought together. 10 being, I've got a million things on my mind. I can barely think on one thing. I'm finding it very hard to focus. 5 being the optimal state. Where are you at with your mind and your thought process right now? What number would you give yourself? You can put it in the chat group if you really want to. But where are you at with that? Now, the body, let's measure the body. We've got here. Dave is a 9. Okay, great. There's obviously a lot on your mind right now. This is amazing. Now to check in with our body, let's measure that energy-wise. Scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is extreme exhaustion. I can barely, you just want to lay down and fall asleep right now, and fatigue. And 10 is being completely restless, hyperactivity, and an inability to sit still. You're just you can feel your body just not feeling it. All right. So where would you rate yourself 1 to 10, where your energetic body is right now? You can chuck that in the group chat. Sammy's a 3. I would say I'm probably a 4. I'm a 4. I'm going to go 4 for me. Cherie is a 2. Welcome, Cherie. I didn't say hello to you. Yeah, awesome. Amanda's a 7. Okay. So just holding those. Jackie's a 3. Okay, awesome. All right. So we just want to hold those things. Okay. Let's move forward. So this is the practice. Again, we're doing a bottom-up approach here. Okay. It's called bottom-up regulation. In my resources, I gave 2 meditations from a beautiful woman named Jessica about contact points, one either sympathetic or dorsal meditations to help regulate our nervous system. All right. So again, if you are closer to a 1 in any of those, body or mind, you're feeling really oh geez, I need some, this is called your baseline hyper arousal. You need some energy. We need to upregulate. We need to get you up to closer to a 5. All right. So if you want to try this one, do standing up, this practice, or add what I'm going to encourage. I'm going to walk you guys through and guide you through this. When we get to the contact point that we talk about, add some pressure to it. Really allow yourself to feel the sensation, okay? If you're closer to a 10 and you're hyper aroused, we want to start bringing yourself relaxed. You can lay down when doing this if you want to, or sitting, but very much softening your breath, okay? And any contact points, when we get to it, we really want to just really allow us to feel and sink into these contact points, okay? So why, again, is this practice important? So why would we want to regulate ourselves from either 10 to 5 or 1 to 5? Focus contact point practice, which we're talking about right now, is giving our ability to bring away from our survival brain into a more balanced state. The survival brain, as you can see here, is this little red guy called the amygdala. It's our reactive part of the brain. Okay, very, very important part of the brain, because if we didn't have it, we would die in many scenarios. Okay, so as we need this thing, it's very helpful, but living in it is not so helpful. A lot of people actually live in this part of their brain and it's their normal state rather than their survival state. Okay, so the amygdala part of the brain, as you can see in my notes here, acts like a smoke detector. It's setting off alarms like, yo, like there is fire or a threat or something's happening in your life that we need to put out like now. All right. Very, very important. So when we actually use this bottom up regulation, we are also connecting that 80 to 90% afferent nerves going into the 20 to 10% efferent nerves, which then start regulating. And then from there, it will respond top down regulation back to relaxing the body. Can you see how important it is to go body first and really connect with ourselves physically to then allow our mental state to actually relax the physical body? So it's going to start bottom up for up bottom to actually occur. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to practice. And it's nothing, there's no performance here. What I want you guys to do, you can either have your eyes closed or eyes open. You can grab what was really, really important. If you're sitting down, if you can grab a cushion or a towel or something that you can just sit on the edge of to actually support your posture better. Because when we have a good posture, this actually activates the vagus nerve to tell us that we're safe. Posture is a very big part. And that's something we're going to practice this week, is the awareness of our posture when we are below the line. So I'm adding another piece of awareness to you guys. What posture are you in if you're below the line? A lot of people, when we're depressed, we are rolling the shoulders over, we're hunched over and our head's down. We're in this depressive state. When we're anxious, we're like moving around too much, okay? And we could be like in really weird postures that aren't really made for safety. So a good posture right now is to feet on the ground, grounded, having a little cushion, sitting on the edge, so it just kind of helps the curvature of the lower lumbar spine, okay? And we're just going to take some deep breaths together, okay? So in your own pace, taking 3 deep breaths, okay? You can inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth, or just through the nose completely. And just allow your thoughts to wander. Remember the baseline check-in. Where were you? What number were you at? Just finishing your 3rd breath. And now what we're going to do, continue just breathing normally. Just find a pace and a rhythm that brings you into a centered, present place. What I'd like you to do now is focus your attention towards your feet. Do they feel comfortable where they're positioned right now? Or do they need to be moved a little bit further in front of you or behind? And just focus on the contact from your feet to the ground. Where's more weight on? Is it the front or the back of the foot? Or are they quite centered? Now, if you're really low in one of those numbers and you feel very low energy, I just encourage you to put a little bit more contact, a little bit more pressure towards your feet right now. And allow yourself to truly feel the physical sensation of that pressure. And the flip side of the coin, if you are hyper aroused, just really allow your feet to soften. Can you breathe into the tension or the rigidness that you have with your feet and your ankles? And just loosen them up with each breath. What does that sensation feel like? Are you wearing socks to the ground, or shoes and socks to the ground, or just bare feet? If you're wearing shoes, are your feet warm? You got bare feet, can you notice any breeze or coolness of the air? Does the ground feel warm, or any sensation you can come to your mind? Just bring it towards your feet. And now, as we just continue to move up the body, let's just move into the pelvis, the hips, the thighs, and just focusing on our posture, continuing our deep breathing, just focusing all our attention to the contact points of the bum on our seat, or if you're laying down, the weight of your bum on the floor. Again, if you're feeling anxious or hyper aroused, bring some softness. Can you sink a little bit deeper into your chair? Can you breathe into the tension you may have into your hips and just relax it a little bit more? If you're quite low and hypo aroused, can you put just a bit more pressure and really get into that positive posture? Does one leg favor the other leg? Do you feel more weight on one side or the other? And remember, no judgment, just feeling and breathing. And now let's just move up and travel up to each vertebrae in the spine. Can you feel any tension anywhere in your back, lower lumbar, thoracic, cervical spine, the lower, the middle, the higher? Does it feel straight with your posture? Does it feel twisted or leaning to one side? And you can relax into that if you're at a high number, just breathing, finding a good balance point. Or again, if you feel like you need to bring energy up, really breathe from the diaphragm up through your spine, elongating your neck and bringing that high energy towards your spine. Continue breathing normally, feeling that posture. And for our last contact point, bring your focus and attention towards your hands. Do they feel weighty? You can even get your thumb to touch each finger, just to feel that sensation. Again, to bring more arousal into your nervous system, you can push your palms together and add some tension. And at the same time, if you're hyper aroused, you can do this too with a little big press between your palms. And hold, pressing hard and hard, and then relax. Let them go. Allow your hands just to rest on your lap. What sensation do you feel? Do you feel a buzzing or a numbing sensation? Any tingling? And just breathing without any judgment. Just allowing yourself to feel what the body is feeling. And in your own time, take 2 deep breaths, and then we'll come back and check in. Just open your eyes. So what I'd like you to do now that we've just practiced that, and thank you for allowing me to guide you in that, is go back to your numbers. So what I want to do here, see if I can actually go back here, is let's come back to this and check in. For here, where is your mind now on a scale of 1 to 10 after that practice? Where is your body now on a scale of 1 to 10 after that practice? And maybe if you want, feel comfortable, you can share that in the chat and see if that number's changed or moved for you. For me, I probably was at around a 7 or an 8. I was very stimulated in my thinking because I'm presenting, but after that practice, I definitely feel calmer. And I'm probably down to a 6 or a 5. My body was at a 4. I definitely feel more connected and grounded to my body. I can definitely give myself a 5. Has anyone's number changed? Great.
Wait, so Mitch?
Yes.
Is 5 the optimal spot to be?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I'll share with you later in this presentation will make sense. Okay. 10's really high and we're hyper aroused. Okay. And that's what we call more so sympathetic dominant nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
1 is hypo aroused, low energy. That's called your dorsal nervous system. Okay. Mm-hmm. What we want to get into is around the 4, 5, 6 numbers, which is our parasympathetic. Okay. Where we're very much in control.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Did your number change at all, Amanda?
Yeah, I think it probably went down to a 6 for both.
Where were you before the practice?
I think closer to 7.
Great. 1's a good jump. 1's an amazing jump.
Yeah.
Okay, great move. Sammy's written mind was 4 and body is 5 now. That's pretty great. I like that. That's awesome. Cherie's mind is 4 and body is 3. Really good. Okay. What we need when we're really seeing 4s and 3s or 2s and 3s is where you need a bit more hyper arousal. We need to activate that. So again, we want to put the pressure on in these contact points to really feel the body or give ourselves a little bit of tenseness to make sure we're activating our nervous system. If we're too high, we want to relax it. Okay. So that's the purpose of this contact point. And again, in this program, in the resources, I've shared 2 resources to help with sympathetic, which is high numbers, contact point meditation, and dorsal contact point meditation, which is low numbers, and how to arouse that again. So they're at your disposal. They're on SoundCloud. You can use the app on Kajabi, just to click on it, and you can put some headphones in and you can listen to it off your phone. All right. So these are just really good resources throughout the week to check in with yourself. So that's the first practice point to, again, get us out of this reactive part of the brain, the amygdala. All right. Really, really important. So thank you for practicing that. Now, the other thing I want to talk about the vagus nerve is what's called vagal tone. Who's heard of this term before? Vagal toning, vagal tone. All good. Great. We're going to learn something. So basically, the vagal tone is another measure of the vagus nervous system. All right. The vagus nerve. So increasing your vagal tone activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and having higher vagal tone means that your body can relax faster after stress. So basically, when we have a good vagal tone, we have a great ability to be resilient and flexible to stresses in our life. When we have a poor vagal tone, it's very hard for us to respond to these things. So the question is, what affects our vagal tone, which is basically our frequency within the vagus nervous system? Okay, what affects that? We talked about below the line or above the line before, and the emotions and frequencies around that. But what else can affect that? Here is what it can do. So the major causes, looking on the left here on this diagram, the major causes of poor vagal tone is chronic stress and poor sleep. We all know this, but like critically, why is this important? I'll tell you in a second. Early childhood trauma experiences, which we all have in some way, shape, or form on a spectrum. Okay. Head injuries, concussions. Okay. I've had 3, and I didn't realize how critical these things are and how important it is to really look after that. Poor breathing mechanisms, being shallow breathing and not actually breathing through the nose, but through the mouth. Chronic infections and viruses. Okay. This causes inflammation in the body, which then can affect our nervous system. Blood sugar imbalances. Okay. And insulin sensitivity. And high toxic load, okay, environmentally and internally, okay, externally and internally, all right? But again, the other signs, so they're causes, but signs that are actually causing low vagal tone, feeling what low vagal tone is anxiety, emotional overwhelm, or having difficulty switching off. If you feel that a lot, then you have a low or poor vagal tone, all right? Insomnia, not switching off, chronic inflammation within the body, CFS, okay? Chronic fatigue syndrome, depression, feeling stuck, flat, or apathy is another big sign. Feeling stuck, when people are like, I feel stuck, I just don't know what to do, that's actually your body keeping you safe, because you've told your body for so long that you're in danger, amygdala part of the brain. So it's just like, boom, I'm going to make you feel stuck so you don't do anything, so we don't get hurt. It's the body's natural ability to respond to high stresses. Okay. Chronic pain, tension within the body, digestive issues, and autoimmune issues. If we've got any of these, that is a sign that we have low or poor vagal tone. So the question is, how do we increase vagal tone if we've got poor? And that's what I want to talk about. So before I get there, it's like, well, how do things get so low in the first place? What's really the issue? And I think this is a big part. And I know we get this. The more we become aware of it, then we can respond rather than react. So a big part is stress. Again, the World Health Organization states that the #1 epidemic of our 21st century is stress. This is a health organization, the World Health Organization. What's killing us more than anything else is stress. All right. So stress, but again, stress isn't bad. It's not good. We need a balance of it. But stress puts the nervous system into overdrive. It just does that. Okay. It needs to do that. It searches for danger by signals it receives from the vagus nerve. Again, 89% is the vagus nerve is within the body. So it's like, whoa, I feel danger. I can get out of here. All right. Has anyone ever experienced, if they've ever just been physically somewhere and they just knew that something wasn't right, that they needed to get out of there? They even may have had their hairs on their arms kind of raise up, and they just knew intuitively that I need to get the hell out of here. right? That is a physical sensation. Your body's picked up so many signals, your eyesight's picked up on something, smell, whatever it is, has picked up a physical sensation, sent it to the brain and said, yo, help us. And then it will send the signal back down going, all right, you're in sympathetic. We need to run. We need to flight out of here, right? What a beautiful system. So intelligent. But if we don't learn how to use it or work with it, it can actually be quite toxic to us. Right. So another thing that's huge on that, all right, is following periods of chronic or traumatic stress in our nervous system thinks that this danger zone is now our normal zone. So this is a big thing. Most people are under chronic stress and they just think that's normal. So what do? I'll have 5 coffees a day. I'll just do this. I will just chuck on Netflix and chill for a bit and just kind of ignore it. That is numbing and distracting ourselves because we are actually under threat and we're stressed out, but we have learned so many different coping mechanisms to make it normal when it's not normal at all. And then down the track, we're just like, oh, I've got a heart issue, or I've got an autoimmune issue now, or I've got this disease. Where did this come from? It's because we've been in this state for so long that it's become normal to you and you don't know why you're sick. Who gets that? Right? So this is huge that we just work with it. So again, I really wanted to put this image. Does anyone sometimes feel like they're just pushing shit uphill? A lot of the time, it's like, man, like again, it's like nothing. It's like, okay, got to keep going, keep going, keep going. Well, we're built for resilience. But again, I want to really let you guys know when I mention trauma, a lot of people think it's a state. This isn't like a horrific accident or a disaster. Like I've written here, trauma states isn't being in a horrific accident or disaster. That can be a thing, right? But most of the time, people are experiencing trauma without them even realizing. I think we're starting to get to a place in science and in our mental health kind of industries that trauma is becoming normalized a bit, thank God, right? So it's when trauma is actually when we feel helpless and or chronic in any of these areas: business failing, financial hardships, bad relationships, COVID-19, right? Has anyone noticed their energy change or feeling more stressed out or feeling symptoms that they probably haven't felt before since COVID-19 mentally? Okay, or they've noticed the arousal of that even more, right? Because we're consciously also connected. So when the whole world is under fear, man, it's going to put a trauma on the body. It's going to put us in this stressful state, right? So again, that last sentence there is really important to know. Your past shapes your brain and your nervous system. So your upbringing, the other issues you've had with past relationships, other things that's been hard for you, that you felt helpless in, all of this has created neurons within the body to respond to those stresses that you've previously done. It could be a coping mechanism that didn't serve you, it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be whatever. So when you notice you get stressed out and you feel triggered and you feel like, I need to eat some food, that could have been a coping mechanism in your past that now has shaped your brain and your nervous system to do that thing again, right? So this is where we get to be aware and respond rather than react. So this is where we need self-compassion, because how you responded previously or reacted previously is how you want to do it again. And if you feel like, hang on, man, like, I don't want to act this way, give yourself compassion because that helped you previously. But now you're aware of it, you can bring some kindness, like, hey, I'm not the only one going through this. Remember, human connection, okay? I'm very mindful of why I'm actually feeling I want to respond this way because I used to do that in the past. And then how can I add some kindness into this situation? The 3 elements of self-compassion. So this is that relationship with your nervous system. That's why the vagus nerve is called the compassion nerve. We need to stop, feel it, regulate it, okay? So the way to measure, a great way to measure your vagus nerve and your vagal tone is your heart rate variability. Again, when I learned this, game changer. And this is why I do what I do now, because I healed myself of chronic nerve pain, but my heart rate variability was still very, very, very poor. And I was like, but I'm healthy. Heart rate variability told me something else. Okay. So the heart rate variability, you can see there on my, my left in my comments, is like the body's engine light that we check. Is it red? Like, do I need to actually change my oil? That's what this heart rate variability measurement is. Okay. It's an MRI into our internal health, a measure of your stress level, the overall health and well-being of your body. Okay. It's truly an incredible tool if you know how it works and the knowledge and have the knowledge behind it. So I use this thing called an Aura ring, okay, which actually tracks and helps me track my heart rate variability. You've got Whoop bands, but there are other things you can do. You can go get actually to your doctor and they can actually test it where your heart rate variability is. Okay. So I'll be putting out some more things within our Facebook group and how we can test that a little bit better. But here's, I found this diagram and I just loved it. Okay. So we've got our brain. Yep. Got our autonomic nervous system, vagal nerve, and it responds to stresses or rest. And if we're stressed out, we're in our sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, survival, and we're in our amygdala part of our brain, survival brain. So it's all connected there. Okay. Which then goes to our heart because it's connected. It will increase our blood pressure. It will do things. Okay. So the heart rate variability basically means for every 2 beats, it's measuring how much time and space is between the next 2 beats. It's not actually testing the heart rate. It's testing the time space between the beats. So that's why it can be, it has a variability with it. It's never constant. It changes between stresses and rest. So again, when the heart rate variability is low because we're stressed out all the time, and that's when it does go low, that's when we start to see chronic stress and illness. But if we want to increase the heart rate variability, we actually need to be in this system here, the growth and repair, the parasympathetic nervous system. So if we want to increase this heart rate variability, we've got to learn how to regulate our nervous system so that we can have increased resilience and performance in our life. All right. So the question is, we're going to start doing a couple things. I've got an at-home test that you can do actually. That's really easy. But you can see here, I just love this little diagram here. Low heart rate variability. You have a lower adaptability to external conditions. You're imbalanced in your heart and your mind. You're low spirits and depressed, easily exhausted, and you start having health issues. And that can be a whole spectrum of different things. But the high heart rate variability and adaptability is great sense of well-being. Your intuition is really great. Your better physical performance. You can recover better. Relaxation, good sleep and recovery, as I mentioned. Enhanced cognitive performance, so you're thinking clear. Okay, decision-making is really great. And you have lower risk of high blood pressure. Okay, that one there is the #1 cause of disease in Australia. Okay, heart disease is the #1 disease in Australia. Okay, and most Western countries. Okay, then we've got cancer, diabetes, all these other ones. But it's this thing, the heart rate variability, that has an effect on that, not just diet. All right. So here's a test. Okay. And you're like, Mitch, why the hell do you have an eye? Now, as an iridologist, I can actually test if you have poor vagal tone or good vagal tone, literally by looking at your pupils. You get to do the same thing at home. So this pupil here is what we would say is in iridology term called mydriasis. If you have a small pupil, it's called meiosis. Now, mydriasis basically means sympathetic dominant. This person, their nervous system needs a lot of nurturing and regulating because they have, for most of their life, been sympathetic dominant. So, okay, great. Straight away, I'm like, what's the first thing you work on with this person? Like nervous system and supporting their vagal tone straight away. So what you get to do here is let's look at the right, and we're going to do this at home. And I'd love you to check in as your homework is something that you're going to do this week as a task. Okay. So when someone is dealing with poor vagal tone due to sympathetic dominance, like this eye here, or high dorsal vagal activity, they are unable to maintain the contraction for a normal length of time with their pupil. All right. So how are we going to test this? You're going to set up a room. All right. Sit in front of a mirror in a dimly lit room. So you're not like overly stimulated by light. Okay. Using a flashlight on your iPhone or smartphone, and shine it into your eye from the side. So it's like, let's say I've got a flashlight here. I'll just quickly as a demonstration. And I know you probably think, I don't need a demonstration, Mitch. Makes perfect sense. Some people don't get it still. So flashlight. Cool. Got that thing there. So I'd be coming from the side, and you're going to look in the mirror real close to let your pupil then adjust to that light. So when you do that, so 45 degrees, okay, you can either come a little bit onto the angle like that, all right, but not directly, okay? A bit to the side or a little bit angle. When this happens, your eye will naturally constrict, your pupil will constrict, and the size of the diameter will reduce in size, okay? So that's what's going to happen, is the pupil will go lower. Here are the results. So I want you to do that, but this is what we're going to test it on. Okay. So your pupil response, okay? If your pupil stays constricted, so it sees the light and it goes constricted, it goes smaller, for 20 seconds plus, you have a healthy vagal axis. So this is your pituitary, adrenal, and hypothalamus axes. So those three within the body actually contract the pupil. Again, all of them connected towards the vagus nerve, all right? So again, if it starts to change within 10 to 20 seconds, and it starts to start moving, that's when I'd say you have a mild vagal tone. If it's definitely within 5 to 10 seconds goes bigger again, you have, I would say, a poor, fatigued vagal tone. And then if you have an immediate pulsation and dilation, okay, you have a failure of an exhaustion. So the big one is when it doesn't really dilate, okay, it's just nothing immediately is changing, that's when it's just exhausted. Does that make sense? Yeah. So give yourself, and I would do it on a day you're really stressed, and I'd do it on a day that you're feeling pretty chilled out as well. Now, another practice is breathing. So why do you think breathing would help our vagal tone and our vagus nerve? I'm going to open up the floor here. Any ideas?
To the diaphragm. It's at the base of the diaphragm.
Let me go all the way back. Nailed it. Go back to these pictures of the autonomy of the vagus nerve. Is this gets activated. Again, all the yellow within here, vagus nerve, is connected to our diaphragm. So if we want to regulate the actual nerves, we have to move it. And the best way to do that is through breathing through our nose to actually activate the diaphragm. Okay, so when we can actually choose to breathe at different paces, depending on which system we're in, sympathetic or dorsal, we can regulate our nervous system, which is phenomenally amazing. Like science is like frothing on this at the moment. So now 1 verse 1, 1 verse 2. What do I mean by that? Breathing. It's an equal ratio. So the one is like, let's say I breathe in for 3 seconds, I'll breathe out for 3 seconds. 5 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever it may be. Okay. The 1 verse 2, okay, is a very relaxing kind of breathing. So let's say I breathe in for 4, I breathe out for 8. I breathe in for 3, I breathe out for 6. I breathe in for 2, I breathe out for 4. Okay. So that's that breathing exercise. The reason for that is when we breathe in, our heart rate goes up. And when we breathe out, our heart rate drops. So if we're hyperly aroused, if we're in like the high 10s, like we're 10s, high up there, sympathetic dominant, 1-2 ratio is a very good one, particularly when we want to go to bed. There's a great breathing exercise called 4-7-8. So in for 4, hold for 7, 8 out for 8. It's a really good way of relaxing us, getting into our parasympathetic nervous system. The 1 verse 1 is a really good breathing exercise if we're dorsal. low and we want to get back up and arouse ourselves a bit. I actually do this for hockey. If I'm feeling like I'm like, oh, you used to do this for sport, or I need to actually get something going, all right, is I would sit in my car or getting ready and I would be like, in, out, in, out, in, out, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and that pump, okay? I definitely wouldn't want to be doing the 1, 2. I'd be like going into hockey like, man, I'm so relaxed. It's not what I want, all right? So we get to actually go, hang on a second, I get these tools. So what I want to do right now is just a little bit of a practice with you guys. Not even going to give you time and really space. It's just really connect to your breath right now. No, don't change it. Just for how you're breathing right now. How many seconds is your inhale? And then kind of note that. And then how many seconds are you exhaling? While you're just listening to me talk. Is it equal? Is your inhale longer than your exhale? Or is your inhale shorter than your exhale at the moment? And what we just want to do is come back to the body. Just feeling the body. You might want to just grab your hands and rub your thighs to have a good contact point. You may want to move your neck. Just coming back to your body. We've been in the brain a little bit with me talking. And just feel any tension. If you feel any tension in the body, you can stretch, rub. I've got a bit of a sore right trap at the moment, so I'm going to give some love and attention to that. And what we want to do now is just focus on one-to-one breathing. And while you're doing the feeling your body is I want you to breathe in for a count that feels comfortable to you. So it might be 2 seconds, it might be 3 seconds, it may be 4, it could be 5, it could be all the way up to 7. Whatever the count is, breathe in and then equally breathe out. Do it through your nose. You want to breathe in all the way to your gut. You may want to put a hand on your stomach just to make sure you're feeling that breathing going down to the depth of the diaphragm. So you can feel your stomach expanding and coming back in with your equal breathing. So for however long it is, just equal breathing at the moment. And when you breathe out, fully just relax it out. It's like you're letting go of something. You're not slowly forcing it out, you're just letting it go. And now I encourage you to go 1 second longer for however long it's been. So if you're at 3 seconds, equal breathing, go 4. Do a few more. And just coming back to my voice, to my face. All right. So this is actually called present breathing. Some call it, use different techniques called box breathing, where they do, Tyler, my mentor, taught me one called 7 rounds of 7. And this is in for 7. So you're inhaling for 7, you're holding that for 7 seconds. Then you're exhaling that for 7 seconds, and then you're holding that for 7 seconds. So you have a box of inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And you do that equally with the same number. Okay. Now, the reason this is important is when we can start to choose. Now, this is a top-down approach, by the way, because we're choosing from our mental capacity that we're going to breathe. We're going to be in control of our autonomic nervous system here. Our body can now feel relaxed. So when we feel tense and tight and anxious or depressed and really low, we decide to choose to breathe at a different pace, we then physiologically change. And that also changes our emotions, okay? Because it's connected, mind and body. So these are powerful, powerful tools that, you know, I'm going to get and put more in our resource section throughout this week to practice, okay? And I'll share with you which ones are better to use when what you're feeling. And that's what we're coming to this part of this presentation now. So this is called regulation, okay? Now, I know it's not the clearest picture, but please bear with me. So let's look at the different colors before we get to the blue wiggly line here. And this is about window of tolerance. So the window is really the green window here. We want to be predominantly in this zone for the most of our days. So up here in yellow and red is when we're starting to get into that sympathetic response, fight or flight response, okay? And as we start to get down to the gray and this lavender color is we're in our hypoarousal state. As I mentioned, hyper or hypo. And that's our not parasympathetic response, absolutely, but it's more so our dorsal response. So I would say in our green is our parasympathetic and down in our purple is our dorsal, okay, dorsal vagal nerve, all right? So in the day, we want to start seeing this move up. Why? Cortisol, it's waking us up, it's getting good energy, we're waking up, great. But we don't want to wake up thinking something's killing us or we're going to die or we need to run away. So we should wake up relaxed. Okay. And this is when we go, oh yeah, I'm feeling good, relaxed. I do a bit of a stretch or some breathing, or I might go for a nice gentle walk and get some sunshine. Okay. And I'm hydrating. Driving when we're going to work or doing something, we should be aroused because we need to be focused on what's going on in our environment. We get to work, we relax again, chill out, have some conversations with some good people, hopefully being in a good state, focusing on our breath. This is just like as an example through the day. Then we've got responsibilities, it could be emails, phone calls, you know, tasks to do. We're getting to our to-do list now and that gets to things. But let's say for some bloody reason, something goes wrong or, you know, your order didn't come in or, you know, the email that you're expecting didn't come through or like this, whatever it may be. And it's causing this hyper arousal, causing you anxiety. Now you're worried about something or my partner didn't text me back, like whatever it may be can start creating this sympathetic state of like, all right, I'm feeling anxious. But hopefully as we build our heart rate variability and we build our vagal tone and understand how to regulate our nervous system, we can feel it and be like, oh no, I'm okay. I'm gonna have some self-compassion. I'm gonna come back down into my window. But then, I don't know, something else happens throughout the day. All right, you get pissed off and someone tells you to put on a mask and you're like, get stuffed, right? And your anger and your beast mode comes out. You're like, no, I'm gonna fight this person, right? That's okay. This is totally okay. It's normal to be here. It's not normal to live here though. And so we want to get into the normal state, right? And this is another thing is like, well, why would digestion put us down? Okay. Well, we want to be in a very good window state because when we're in our parasympathetic, it helps us to digest food. If we're in our sympathetic, they say up to 50% of our gastric juices aren't produced when we're digesting food if we're stressed out. Very, very interesting. But when we eat food and digestion kicks in, a lot of energy goes towards that. So sometimes we can feel a little bit low, like, oh, I'm pretty tired now after eating. I need to chill out. 3:30itis has kicked in, but like I need to do more work again before 5 o'clock kicks. But now I just need time to just chill out and relax and give myself some downtime, which is great. That could be a breathing, could be a meditation, could be whatever, right? And I don't know, maybe for some reason you watched something or heard something, or you heard something about the floods going on, and that brings some sadness to you, like, or whatever. You could be triggered being sad, and that brings low energy, like, woof, okay. And we're starting to go down this depressive kind of thinking, right? But that's kind of a normal scale of what a healthy nervous system looks like, okay? What an unhealthy, traumatic, chronic stress window of tolerance looks like, it looks like this. And that green parasympathetic that window is much less, and we're getting more windows and colors of hyperarousal and hypoarousal. And that's what I want to bring your awareness to more this week, is this. So we wake up and we're waking up already, angry, like I did on Saturday morning. I'm already pissed off, right? I want to punch something. I want to kill something. I'm so angry. I'm woken up in this red zone, like ping, I'm up here, right? And I tried doing the things that's meant to get me back down and it wasn't working, right? But people, this can happen. But normally if we're already got these people are called short fuse. Has anyone ever told you that you have a short fuse sometimes? That's what your day looks like when you have a short fuse, because you've got barely any window to regulate your nervous system. So you're driving and someone cuts you off and you're like, and your road rage kicks in because you're already there. You're so close to being there. You've got barely any window of being in parasympathetic. Email kind of almost pushed you off the edge. You're like, nah. But then maybe your boss says something or a coworker says something and you're like, all right, let's go. Like you snap back and say something back and you react rather than respond. You're pissed off now. That's what this looks like, because you're already under stress the day before, the week before, the month before, the year before. You've already got these traumas because you're already feeling so much about pressure that this is what it looks like. You feel anxious, you feel panicky, you've got this hypervigilance, your restlessness, you're aggressive, okay? You're very much in this state more in the day than being relaxed, restored, recovered, and digesting your food. But also the big thing about that is if we're up here too long, our nervous system burns out. Your adrenals don't burn out, you don't get adrenal fatigue, but your nervous system, your vagal tone is poor and it drops. And then that's when we actually start heading into the hypoarousal, where we shut down, we get depressed, we're emotionally numbing ourselves because we don't want to feel anymore because feeling hurts. We become very apathetic and tired. We disassociate with the world. This is called the freeze state. So again, this is when you can feel and understand now when it's like, hang on a second, am I hyper? Am I sympathetic, or am I just can't be bothered and I'm apathetic? Am I in my dorsal right now? And what are the tools to help me open up and build a greater window of tolerance, this green zone? And that's what this whole program is about. Okay. Another practice we're going to do real quick, let's look at the time, is we're almost done, guys. It's something that Amanda actually naturally did the other week. And it's called Name It to Tame It. Okay. Feel it to heal it in a way. So what I want to do real quick, go like 5 minutes, is we're at Tuesday now. And I want you to think of a time that you were stressed out either this week or last week, something that triggered you. Go back to that. Remember a time that you were just anxious, you were angry, you were pissed off, or you were depressed. And I want you to go there. Just go there now. Just really remember what that felt like. Trust me, I can remember a time. It was me with hockey. Very easy to remember how angry I was and what that sensation felt. But what I want you to do now is just really relax your body, feet on the ground, hands on your thighs, taking a few deep breaths and just going to that time and space of that sensation, of that stress. And I want you to see what you felt. Remember what you felt, and can you feel it now in your body? What did it feel like? And can you name that feeling, that sensation? Was it rigid? Did you feel tight? Were you tense? Was it hot? Did you feel heat in the body? Did you feel congested? Did you feel weighty? Where in the body do you feel that stress response? Is it in your throat tightening up? Is it in your hips tightening up? shoulders, from that stress response you can remember. Now, wherever that is on your body, can you give yourself permission just to touch that gently with your hand? And then just ask it the question, what do you need right now? How can I be of better support to you now and in the future? What do you need right now? Just stay with that question and allow your body and your mind to respond to you. Again, if it feels too much and you don't want to go there, you can open your eyes and take a break. I'll just give you one more minute just to feel that sensation. Name it, begin to describe it, touch it and feel it, and continue to ask what it needs right now. It's okay for your thoughts to wander. It does. Perfectly normal. Let's come back to your breath. You're just taking a deep breath in and relaxing it out. Just begin to come back to the present moment and open your eyes. Thank you for just practicing that short little exercise. Okay, this introspection, looking within, feeling within, naming it to tame it. Did anyone get an answer from their body? Awesome. Awesome. This is the power of connecting to our nervous system. I got an answer straight away. And that's not you thinking, oh, it's just me logically thinking. It's like, no. 80 to 90% of your nervous system is from your body to your mind. And when you feel it and help it to feel safe, then it can give you the answer it needs, right? So again, anytime you're feeling heaps of stressed out and you've got deadlines and you need pressure and you need to come up with a solution, you've got heaps of problems, time is to feel, give yourself, it doesn't take long. You know, a few people put their hand up. That was less than 5 minutes. Can you give yourself permission to do this exercise daily if needed? To feel yourself, to know yourself. It's very, very powerful stuff. So the reflection on that exercise is it really does engage our vagus nerve, especially bringing care from bottom up regulation, because we're feeling it in the body. And then our mind can actually be safe enough to get out of the amygdala part of the brain and into another part of the frontal lobe, which is huge in everything. So under stress, when the survival brain, again, amygdala part of the brain, it feels it's in danger and the thinking brain literally goes offline. So when we're in our sympathetic, we're in our reactive, our solution brain and our creative brain switched off. Okay, so we're feeling heaps of stress under business or study or whatever it may be. It's very hard to build that curiosity and build a practice in that. So again, this helps bring the PRC, which is our I think it's meant to be PFC, prefrontal cortex, which pretty much is the parent of the amygdala. Think of the amygdala as this little kid, like, life's crazy, I'm reacting, and the parent's like, there. It's okay. I got you, right? So this practice helps bring the prefrontal cortex back online and down regulates the amygdala, calms it down, top-down approach. You just did that. That's what you guys are doing with your vagus nerve right now in this session. So here's the goal this week. All right, this is all we're doing. Again, am I above the line, below the line? What is my self-compassion practice? Am I journaling, checking in with myself, giving myself kindness and mindfulness and genuine humanity? And in that, when my awareness is now high, am I sympathetic? Am I dorsal? All right, I could do a 1-to-1 ratio or a 1-to-2 ratio breathing if I'm in the sympathetic nervous system. Calm it down. I could do a contact point meditation that we did, really relaxing it. I could do the one we just did there, name it and tame it exercise. Would help us really regulate back into our window of tolerances of stress. This isn't saying it's going to get rid of your stress. It's going to help you to be flexible and resilient towards it. Perform better, okay? Be healthy and have greater well-being. And the other one, there's an exercise I haven't talked about yet, which I will do later in this program. But again, a one-on-one breathing, 1-versus-1 ratio breathing helps us get out of dorsal, apathetic, depressive states for really low. Okay. And also sensory ones. Again, the contact points. This VU here that I put here is actually a vibrational vagal tone exercise that I do in the shower to help activate it here. So I'll teach that later. But that's the goal, is I want you to know, hang on, where am I on in this window of tolerance? Am I in red, green, or the grayish area? Where am I? And how can I help myself today and practice that? It's all you're focusing on this week. The more we build the awareness up here, the more we're going to actually take on the things I'm going to teach you later on in this program. So that's it. I know we've gone over a little bit over time. I thank you for your focus and attention with me.